There are a few details I want to quickly talk to you about in this video analysis. I want to talk about direct play, uh, throw-ins, and quickly analyze Geelong Rangers in preparation for Saturday's game. So our intention to solve the problems analyzed in previous weeks, where our number 9 and forwards were seen to be too isolated and then easily marked as a result of our slow pace type of maneuvering. All of that was improved upon by the change in the formation. So we went into that 4-4-1-1, and also with the fact that we obviously started playing a much more direct type of football, at least in the first half. Yusuke, for example, covered two roles, that of the number 9 and that of the number 10. He created a first line of interception in the middle of the park when we didn't have the ball and was one of two permanent targets going forward. Our vertical balls kept their defensive line deep and made them uncomfortable in dealing with it. I particularly liked in the first quarter of an hour these type of goal kicks we took with Dennis, very direct, immediate. That caught them by surprise since they kept a very high line and exposed them a lot and almost presented twice Alejandro one-on-one with the keeper. This was the second one, only a few minutes later, where again, same pattern, and Alejandro this time got even in front of the player, apparently committed a foul, hit the crossbar, whatever. But again, remember, this kind of stuff can be used not every time, but can be quite fatal for oppositions, and we should do that and keep these at our disposal whenever we think it's necessary to play such a ball. A few minutes later, another example. We first initially play out from the back. Ball goes to the left. Hamish plays the ball. Now, with such vertical balls, you might look wasteful, but you might not want possession and rather force them to make a mistake or give us the ball back further up the field, as, for example, you can see now. We just kicked it back. We are waiting for them to try and outplay us in midfield. And you know what? We end up with the ball. In these circumstances, Ethan, by the way, I would have liked you to put a bit more pressure since you sort of initiated that high press. Another one that I really liked is from a throw-in. We usually go forward. This time we do what they did a lot. We play the ball back. We do what is, a giro palla, and we end up on the opposite side. Hamish takes the ball forward and plays a long ball. Now, this was ruled offside. It was actually never offside. But again, it's almost presenting Alejandro with a 1v1. Again, that's an example of a good way of playing a vertical ball. This is another one. It's a bit of a hybrid. First, we go long, like the previous one. Again, it might look wasteful, but if you look closely, what we are doing is we are again recovering the ball on the ground in the middle of the park as a result of losing a first ball, and then we can initiate some sort of combination play in the middle of the park. And again, we can alternate short with long balls. In this case, it didn't work, but the idea is actually pretty good, and it's something that we can keep doing. And one final one, again in the first half, we started getting tired, but that's another example right from a goal kick when I asked Giacomo to play the ball a bit more on our left hand side. Again, a long ball, we win the first ball, we lose the second one. They try to outplay in the middle of the park and they can't do that. They lose possession. In this case, we gain a free kick and we are now closer to the final third. So one thing that we can work on with our goal kicks, we can at least at the start of our games, hit them long and make sure that we got two players on the hunt that will make them twice before keeping the line high up. So that means that as the game continues and we have a goal kick, they will probably start keeping their line further down because they are concerned that the ball might be hitting the wide areas or the central areas. At the same time, if their forwards have been instructed to press with one, two, or multiple players, that will ultimately stretch them a lot. Even if the ball goes long and is promptly cleared back in the center of the park, they ideally should give us the opportunity to overload midfield because, as I told you, they are stretched and they, on paper, should have less numbers in the middle of the park. Not only that, but if we see that they retract because they know we're going to go long, well, then that's the signal that we can then play out from the back with less risk because there will be less players putting us under pressure. I hope this makes sense. Now let's talk about throw-ins. Throw-in situations in matches are often just taken for granted and do not seem to attract much attention beside preventing ball progression. I believe we have learned the hard way that oppositions can use it methodically and in a much more structured way. Albion did that quite well, especially in the middle third on their left-hand side. In the first half, we saw an introduction to that early on, after about 20 minutes. So we could see that their throwers would look for a player to come in and then bounce back. Upon receiving the ball, they would then try to hit the far post. In this instance, we were quick enough to put the eventual player trying to put in a cross under pressure, and we survived. In the second half, that was not the case. As when we considered a goal, we did not put the eventual player attempting to cross under pressure. He had so much space. Everyone was just waiting for him to put in that cross. And we should have known that the ball was going to come and hit us in behind, always looking for that far post. Must be said, perhaps in this case, Hamish should have been on this side, but this is what happens. That cross come in and we concede. Same pattern. A few minutes later, the same pattern again, and we have not learnt. Again, ball is played back. This player now receives it again with our nearest player minimum 5 meters away from it. We know what they are about to do. And again, that cross goes in and goes nowhere. But again, same pattern. So what should we have done? Let me show you. Just before we considered the goal, this is what we did. Again, bounce. And now we have two players shutting down both players right away. And ultimately, that cross does not go in. So what can we do and how can we structure ourselves to be able to respond to such circumstances? Well, we can just put in place the so-called spare player concept. So if we see that the opposition's throw-ins are resulting in the thrower receiving the ball again, we need to structure ourselves to be able to press or mark this player. The most common way is, as in this example, to ensure that the thrower is being promptly marked. And now quickly, let's talk about Geelong Rangers and what I saw last week when they played Dallas City. So this is who they are with their starting lineup. I'm giving you their names as well. Starting with the keeper, this Gianmarco Doria. I didn't know. Italian keeper, tall, experienced, probably close to his 30s. Lefura, interesting so. We probably can say, or I can say, that it looked quite solid and probably one of the best players in terms of leadership on the park. He certainly knows what he's doing. Another player that to me is renowned and known around the area, didn't really impress that much during the game. He was subbed off about halfway through the second half after missing a 1v1 is James Maguire, a tall blonde player. He tried to come to Williamstown as well. We were already full, so we couldn't accommodate him. He can be dangerous. It doesn't seem the quickest forward, but in my opinion, you will need to watch out for him. He will probably have also another reason to try and hurt us, simply because we didn't give him an opportunity to even train with us. For what concerns the rest, I know Liam, a young fellow, and another interesting player in midfield is this number 49, Thomas Rush. If he plays, he's a very minute player, very, very technical. Uh, Generally, that's how they set up with two holding midfielders. They will start off quite well at home against Dallas. They started off quite strongly, and then as they scored after about 10 minutes, they started sitting in their own half a bit more. What I saw until Dallas equalized, so Dallas City equalized in the last 10 minutes or so. So I saw a team for about 70 minutes that was not forced to go forward and was pretty much defending the result. Therefore, my opinion on them is mainly on their defensive as well as positive transition type of scenario. Now, defensively, as I said, they don't even keep the wingers very low, but certainly the back four don't stay too high, and they got the two central midfielders covering the passing lanes quite a lot. They work very, very hard. Again, every type of judgment is also based on the quality of the opposition. So, what do they do in patterns that we can expect? Well, number one, they seem to develop their maneuvering a lot down the left hand side for the simple reason that they have a lot of left footers. So they open their body and always and often look to play the ball down their wide left hand side. One player that pushes up a lot down the left hand side is the number 26 Nicholas, that fullback. He will come all the way up and try to overlap. Nothing special, but watch out because he will do that, as far as I've seen, a lot more than Miles on the right hand side that seems to sit a bit more. But again, that's because they seem to develop their maneuvering a lot more down the left hand side. So they do that kind of movement. Now, something else that they often do is that the 7 receives the ball in the middle third, and you will see the number 49 making runs in the wide area there. And it's funny because he's a right footer, but he receives the ball and then opens his body, so he will hardly ever really kick it with his left, even though he does that as well. So yes, his dominant foot is right. So if you are defending on the right hand side, whoever the fullback will be on Saturday, just be aware they will probably cut in and try to hit the ball inside, hitting the far post. So do expect that. The 49 also attacks. It becomes often the number 9, and James Maguire instead drops as a 10 a lot more. Now, James works up and down. As I said, he's not the fastest player, but he tries to go and find pockets of space in between the lines. As I said, it's not rocket science, but just watch out because he will try. If we play those long balls, he will be a tall fellow that you'll have to deal with. Their throw-ins are normal. They just play down the line. They simply try to progress the ball forward. They will attempt to play out from the back in the most appropriate manner, opening up with their central defenders receiving the ball from Gianmarco, and then they will then try to build it up. So I would say that our press will probably come useful, so we'll have to keep that into consideration. And generally, as I said, this is a team that is a bit more technical. However, when things don't go well or when they seem to be under pressure, Gianmarco will not hesitate to go long. Now, when he kicks the ball, they are long balls, and again, because he's a left footer, sometimes the ball end up more on the right hand side when they go long. When they play off from the back, they're more likely to develop the ball down the left hand side,